Hello, welcome again to the FanDuel Punch-Out. Of course, you know I'm Big Italy 42 and he is Josh Shepardson at BChad50. And we're talking about tonight's slate of action on FanDuel. 11 games on tap, some big-name pitchers that we want to be targeting, and some terrible pitchers by name, by stats, by a lot of things that we want to be targeting with our hitters. So there's going to be some interesting strategies tonight, but a lot of pitching options, which is really nice for a Saturday because I feel like it's been a while since we've had more than maybe two tops legitimate options on a Saturday. So it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, we've got the full handful. I mean, there are five arms that I am absolutely, totally enamored with tonight. We're talking FanDuel right now, and you and I agreed. We love King Felix, but Zach Greinke, biggest betting favorite of the day. Gets a soft Rockies lineup that saw Troy Tulowitzki exit early, which makes them an even softer lineup if he's not a go tonight. But a huge betting favorite, not striking out as many batters as we are accustomed to with Greinke, but facing a Rockies lineup that's prone to striking out. So really like Greinke, top pitching option, top cash games option tonight. Felix is I won't say a 1A, but he's a little bit below that. He's a 2. He's a strong 2, though. Probably will split my cash games action, maybe 75-25 with Greinke Felix tonight. Both also in play for tournaments, but there are a couple other names that I like. Scherzer actually might be my preferred GPP option because he is not as big of a betting favorite as Felix and Greinke. I think the punch-out upside is big. I think people are going to see the big bats that are in that Padres lineup and maybe shy away since he is priced so similarly to Greinke and Hernandez. That low ownership is what we're looking for, and the high upside that Scherzer brings to the table is huge. But love the trio. I think tonight's a night that you have to pay up for pitching. There are two other sub-5-figure names that we like. Why don't you give one of them, Justin?
I'm going to give you Danny Salazar and his monstrous 37.2% strikeout rate on the season. 2.02 xFIP. The guy, his only concern is with the long ball. He's given up 5 so far this year, but that insane strikeout rate, coupled with the fact that Texas is just not a great offense. I mean, they got a couple individually good hitters, but 27th in the league against righties. Striking out 20.8% of the time. Team ISO of 111 tells you right there they don't have a lot of power to take advantage of Salazar's one weakness. And we're looking at Salazar so far this year, 5 starts, 4 of them with 9 or more strikeouts. The other one was 7. Struck out 16 Kansas City Royals in his 2 starts against them, a team that doesn't strike out at all. I mean, you got to love his upside tonight in tournaments. I mean, he has just enormous ceiling tonight.
Yeah, without question. You got to get some GPP shares of Salazar tonight. He is a guy that I do expect to be fairly heavily owned in GPPs. At least, it's tough to say. It's not going to be as high as it normally would be because there are so many other aces on the hill. But because his price point is so far below the others, I expect there to be fairly high ownership. But you still got to grab some shares. The price point that he's at allows you to spend quite heavily on bats compared to rostering a Felix or a Scherzer or a Greinke. So you got to get yourself some Salazar. The only other name that I'm considering in GPPs is Jacob deGrom. People are probably going to shy away from him after his struggles at Wrigley. But the wind was blowing out. Let's cut him some slack. He was facing a very good lineup. The Brewers just don't have the left-handed bats to really exploit him. Very righty-heavy. People might be a little nervous after Bartolo Colon got rocked last night by the Brewers lineup, namely Ryan Braun. But deGrom, better pitcher in my eyes, can miss more bats. And I think he's going to be very low-owned. So if you're looking for another low-owned, high-ceiling option in GPPs, deGrom looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And like you said, not a lot of guys that are much cheaper that you feel great about them. I think Cashner is an interesting GPP option, but I don't like targeting, let's call this the Nationals, the Bryce Harpers. I don't like targeting Bryce Harper right now. I mean, rest of the lineup doesn't intimidate me really at all. But at the same time, you know, he is hitting at home or pitching at home at Petco, which you like. But Bryce Harper had no trouble crushing one out of the stadium last night. So who's to say he can't do it again? But I think that he's the only other guy I'm really looking at in tournaments.
Yeah, and on a normal slate, I'd normally like Jesse Chavez 7,500 against a White Sox lineup that's just not very good against righties, but he's going to get very little run support backed by a really bad offense, and I just can't do it. I'd rather spend up at pitcher, and there are plenty of bargain hitters that we will get to here shortly to pick from.
Absolutely. Here's a hitter that is not a bargain hitter. Buster Posey, $3,700. I think he's our consensus top option. As far as upside goes, it's catcher. I know that we both like Yasmani Grandal. If you're factoring in price, probably pretty close between the two. He's $3,000 against the awful Jorge De La Rosa. So he's certainly in play. Outside of that, there's not much to like at catcher. For me, I'm paying up for Posey if I can. If not, I'm trying to get Grandal. Maybe looking to see if we get a value guy in a nice spot. Maybe a Caleb Joseph batting sixth in a fine matchup. Sal Perez, maybe. Outside of that, I'm not a big fan of catcher tonight.
Yeah, the only other name that I'll add to the mix, and I think you're in agreement, is Evan Gattis against Marco Estrada. Homer-prone pitcher against a fly ball hitter like Gattis is a nice recipe for a tater, but at that price point, you spend a little bit less and get Grandal, spend a little bit more and get Posey. Probably going to own both of the other catchers more than I own Gattis, but Gattis is a guy that I mix in there. But yeah, your two value plays look pretty good to me as well, especially on a slate where we're advocating spending on pitching. You do have to save money somewhere. So I would pay down to maybe Sal Perez, or if Caleb Joseph hits in a nice lineup slot against a fly ball pitcher in Matt Shoemaker, I see that as being a viable option.
Absolutely. Let's move on here to first base. I know we both love Joey Votto. It seems like I'm always the one that says it, but sometimes people agree with me here. And you got tonight, he's going against Ryan Vogelsong, who has just got awful against lefties. Hitters Park. I mean, Joey Votto's going to have a hard time not crushing one tonight.
Yeah, Votto's my top play at first base, and it's actually not particularly close when factoring in price point. If you are somebody that's willing to pay down at pitcher tonight, Goldschmidt, right-handed, Citizens Bank Park, that should pretty much tell you all you need to know. Problem is I'm not paying down at pitcher, so there's no way I can budget for a $5,300 Goldschmidt. But if you want to talk about a guy who could be a double dong candidate and really swing GPPs, Goldschmidt's there, but I'd rather pay $1,400 less, get Votto, grab one of the better arms, and be happy there. Looking around at first base a little bit more, Carlos Santana, get as many left-handed batters as you can against Colby Lewis tonight. The Colby Lewis, magic train's going to come derailing at some point, and I think tonight's a pretty good candidate for that. Looking at some other options, I like Duda against Garza, $3,100, good price point. For a power hitter against a pitcher who struggled this year and struggled against lefties, namely lately. So I like some Duda. Cheaper after last night, as Justin pointed out to me before the show, is Brandon Belt. Wrap your head around that one. I can't, but $2,600 left-handed against Mike Leake. Gotta love it at Great American. And if you're looking for a real bargain, and you're going to need some tonight, if you're going to roster King Felix in your cash games or Greinke in your cash games, grab yourself some Billy Butler at $2,400. The man hits lefties really hard, and John Danks is trash, namely against right-handed batters.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to take advantage of that right there. And moving over to second base, little guy with a ton of power, Jose Altuve, hit another home run last night, 3-run shot. Now he gets a nice matchup against one of the more generous home run givers, I should say, I guess, in Marco Estrada, $4,500. Certainly not chasing a home run here, but Altuve can easily pay his tag off without going anywhere near a home run. I know you love Jason Kipnis. I love Jason Kipnis as well, because Colby Lewis, you can buy into it all you want. Don't you dare ask me to buy into it. Colby Lewis is not a good pitcher. He's terrible against lefties. And we both seem to think that he's going to get tagged tonight. And I think Kipnis is going to be a pretty big part of that, because he's one of the hottest hitters in the world right now. I mean, this guy's on fire right now.
Yeah, it's good to see Kipnis bouncing back after a down 2014. Really like him as a lefty against Lewis. Second base is surprisingly deep tonight. I really love the options here at FanDuel. Jimmy Paredes against Matt Shoemaker, good GPP play. Big power, left-handed batter at Camden Yards, and Shoemaker gives up a ton of fly balls. Robbie Cano, lefty against Rick Porcello. Porcello is trash against left-handed batters, so you got to love the three-hitter for the Mariners. Howie Kendrick crushes lefties. Jorge De La Rosa struggles mightily with right-handed batters. So you do the math. Kendrick looks pretty good to me, and the price point is really good. Devin Travis has been scuffling lately. Scott Feldman, not exactly a pitcher that instills a heck of a lot of fear into anybody. Continues to hit leadoff. Minute Maid Park, good ballpark for offense. So he's also in the mix. And then a little lower, you've got some cheap options in Joe Panic, 2,700 lefty against Leake. I still have some faith in Chase Utley. I want to get some piece of Archie Bradley. This is his first start back after getting hit with that comebacker. And not a big fan of Bradley as he is right now anyways, walking too many batters. So Utley looks okay at 2,500. Not a guy that I love, but again, you got to save money somewhere. And then one more bargain play, Scooter Gennett. If you're not using Jacob deGrom, he is left-handed. deGrom hasn't been exactly lights out against left-handed batters, so 2,400 is a good price point if you're looking to save some money so that you can grab a Felix or a Greinke tonight.
Absolutely with you there. Yeah, Chase Utley, one of those guys, you can't be much worse. He's got to start getting better at some point, or maybe this is the beginning of the end. Either way, that price point is way too low for him. Looking over here at third base, I'm still trying to pick on Ryan Vogelsong. Todd Frazier has some of the best power in the game in any position. He's 4,200. Expensive, yes, but big-time upside as well. Looking at some other options, Josh Donaldson. We know he's great against lefties. He's got some power against righties, too. He's interesting against Scott Feldman. Manny Machado. We're going back to this again. Matt Shoemaker, ridiculously high, nearly 50% fly ball rate. So Manny Machado certainly in play. And then I know there's a third baseman you really like that's a little bit cheaper here.
Yeah, I'm going to spend $3,400, and Alex Rodriguez is my top third base play. In teams that I'm probably not, I'll get some O stacks in there that are headlined by Machado. Does have the favorable reverse platoon split. Hits righties better than lefties, but A-Rod hammers lefties. Danny Duffy, not very good against righties. Kaufman does suppress home runs, but the bombs that A-Rod's hitting, it doesn't matter what ballpark he's playing in. We could go back in time and travel to the Polo Grounds, and he'd be hitting home runs. I mean, A-Rod is hitting moonshots this year, and I do like some exposure to Duffy with a right-handed bat, and A-Rod is my preferred exposure there. A little bit cheaper, Kyle Seager not having a banner year by any stretch, but he's left-handed, and we've already outlined that Porcello not very good against left-handed batters. So I do like some Seager. Estrada, homer prone, as we've noted. Luis Valbuena, $3,000, can swing the stick a little bit and does have some power, so I like him as a bargain-ish play. And then beyond that, I'll let you take a $2,600 third baseman because I know you're having a lot of fun picking on this one pitcher. I'll let the listeners guess. We'll give them 1 second. Do they have a guest yet? Yep. Go ahead, Justin.
Lonnie Chisenhall, my boy. I love Lonnie Chisenhall. He's finally starting to hit the ball this year. Struggled a lot at the beginning of the season. We know his epic moment last year with the 3 home runs. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but I'm calling my dong of the day here. Lonnie Chisenhall takes Colby Lewis whatever way he wants. Left field, right field. I don't know what Lonnie's in the mood for tonight, but he's taking Colby Lewis yard tonight.
I like it.
All right, let's move on here to shortstop, which I don't know how you feel about the word sucks. If you have children, maybe we don't like to use that word, but shortstop sucks tonight. Marcus Semien, I know you like, $3,500. He's got some power. One of the few guys at shortstop tonight that does have power. Obviously, John Danks, we already touched on him. He's pretty awful. He's definitely very beatable by the few Oakland bats that can actually hit lefties, and Semien being one of those. Zach Cozart's an interesting play with a little bit of power here at Great American against a fly ball pitcher, 2,600. What else are you looking at here at short?
Alcides Escobar. I continue to get burned picking on CC. I just can't pick the right nights to get him, but I'll take the Kansas City Royals leadoff hitter at $2,800. That's a really good price for a prime lineup spot against a pitcher who is capable of really struggling at times. I mean, this isn't the old CC. His fastball just doesn't have the giddy up anymore. It is a Royals lineup that some of their better bats are left-handed, but if CC's finding the heart of the plate with an 89-mile-per-hour fastball, I don't care if they're left-handed. I don't care if they're no-handed. They're going to hit the ball against CC. Jimmy Rollins, 2,600. Better against righties than lefties, but we know he's going to be hitting in a favorable lineup slot, probably second, maybe leadoff against Jorge De La Rosa. Dodgers should touch up De La Rosa just a little bit, so grabbing him based on what's around him as opposed to him himself. And then $2,300, Brandon Crawford, not chasing last night's performance, but he is a lefty against Mike Leake. And as we keep saying, Great American Ballpark, pretty nice ballpark for power, pretty nice ballpark for offense.
Yeah, we know Leake's got those splits bad against lefties, not so great against righties. Already talked about that. So definitely get yourself some exposure. If you didn't have much last night, probably didn't have a great GPP night. Just saying. But let's move on here to the outfield where Mr. Michael Brantley is the top of my list, $4,700. The best player that no one ever talks about. If he had Trout on the back of his jersey, everyone would be talking about how great he was. But the guy's having a monster season right now. Had another huge game last night. 3 for 3 with 2 walks, a stolen base, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Doesn't get much better than that, considering he didn't hit the ball out of the park. 13 fantasy points on FanDuel. Dollar for dollar, my top option tonight.
Yeah, Brantley's probably my 2 when factoring in price point. Definitely my number 1 in cash games. Still a huge ceiling in GPPs. I'm going to go down a little bit for my number 1 option at $3,600. I love Adam Jones against Matt Shoemaker again tonight. I want to chase that homer. I love Jones as a guy that has a reverse platoon split, better against righties than lefties. So you get that at Camden Yards. Big fan of Adam Jones tonight. The outfield kind of odd. Don't love a lot of names, but I want some more exposure to Colby Lewis. Give me a $3,500 Brandon Moss against him. Going back to the David Peralta well, didn't come through with his my dong of the day yesterday. Did hit a double, but I like the David Peralta against Jerome Williams. And then at $3,300, which seems like slightly underpriced for his production, I'll take Billy Hamilton leading off against Ryan Vogelsong. I expect Vogelsong to get touched up a little bit tonight, so grabbing a switch hitter, meaning you're going to get a left-handed batter against Vogelsong, you're getting the preferred platoon split. You get him on base. Votto's our top-ranked first baseman, so I like the odds of Billy Hamilton getting driven in by Joey Votto at least once tonight, maybe a couple times. And then Cole Calhoun, liked him better when Bud Norris was the probable starter for tonight. Ubaldo Jimenez is going to be taking his place. Still like Calhoun. And then 2 more names I'll give you, and then I'll let Justin rattle off some more that we like. Like Locaine against CC Sabathia, $3,100. That's a really low price point for a guy that brings some power and some speed to the table. Great lineup spot wherever the Royals choose to hit him tonight, whether they're second, third, fourth. He will hit in a prime lineup spot. And then it's a lefty kind of day against the Dodgers, so we like Scott Van Slyke at $3,000. He's going to be on a lot of my GPP rosters. Love the power. Love what he can do against left-handed pitchers.
Yeah, and speaking of power, I'm going to throw in George Springer against the home run machine, Marco Estrada. Another guy that can kind of do it all. He steals bases. He's got 10 steals on the year, and he's been injured twice already. So this guy's got monster upside. You got to love that about him. I don't think I heard you say Brandon Moss. Brandon Moss was the guy you were talking about earlier.
I did, but you just have that desire to just pile on Colby Lewis tonight, and I understand it. I'm glad that we both love Brandon Moss, and I'm on Moss as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marlon Byrd, $3,300 as well. And one other guy I want to mention here, Chris Young should be in the lineup against the lefty, $2,600. I like him against Danny Duffy. Danny Duffy's a fine pitcher, but he's nothing special. And Chris Young, limited action, 6 home runs already in the season. I think that's a nice, cheap way to get yourself some power. And outside of that, like you said, outfield, there's some options, not a ton of awesome options that we love. So I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up.
I got one more name for you. Speaking of cheap power, a reminder, we almost missed him. $2,400 Jay Bruce. I get that Jay Bruce is struggling mightily, but and I'm sure that Justin just kind of tried to blank him out here because he's been struggling so badly to start the year. But $2,400 is a really cheap price in a GPP for a guy that has Jay Bruce's power upside. I know I was cursing at the television the other day when on Thursday night he flew out to the warning track with the bases loaded. Definitely thought I got myself a grand slam there. The booth for the Reds. Shame on you guys. You got me all worked up. That was a professional troll job, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, the whole thing with Jay Bruce is me being sad about all that contract money going to him that will not be going to Johnny Cueto at the end of the year. But
ouch.
Different problems for different days. Thanks for hanging out with us. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Of course, we have a lot of great content for tonight's slate at dailyfantasycafe.com, and we'll see you next time.